Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beckoning Podcast Book Club. Today, we're talking about the clan novel Toreador, which we've been reading, or some of us have been reading over the last month. And hopefully, a bunch of people have been reading along with us. They've read it already, and we are going to go through the narrative as we see it, and also our thoughts on it. So this is basically a spoiler cast for it. Don't expect us to avoid spoiling things for you. So be warned. But welcome everyone. We have our usual friends Huddy and Primogen. How are you two?
Hello.
Hi.
And we have a new friend, Harry.
Hello. How are you? I guess I'm over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
My sincerest apology, by the way, Harry. It's my fault. You were reading the wrong.
It is
book.
A-okay.
We should get into that though, because it's a funny story.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting in the publishing of this book series in general as well. So I'm sure it's a mistake people have made in the past.
I would not be surprised.
So they released these 13 books, right? One for each clan. That's how it started out. And then they were like, we should release compilations. So is it four different books?
Yeah. I believe so.
They're like, how about we do it chronologically? So they picked apart all the books and just put them in a chronological order, as far as I know. Which is the one that I pointed Harry at. Like,
it is a disaster of a book. Look, it's some of it was. I mean, I enjoyed some of reading it. I gotta say, it was a bit hard at first, just because it kept bouncing back and forth between different characters and settings and time period. Well, not time period. It was pretty consistent on that.
Yeah, but still, like, you have a very set tone written for a specific book, and then just rip that part out of it and put next to another book that has a completely different tone.
Yeah,
certainly not gonna.
Bit jarring.
Yeah.
But we are reliably informed that Harry has, by pure accident, covered most of the stuff that was in the Toreador book. So,
hell yeah.
Thanks to the compilation writers for doing that for us, I guess. So, before we get onto thoughts and opinions, should we do a quick recap of what goes on in the book? Is there anyone who'd like to start? Because I can't quite remember how it began. Is it Leopold,
I remember,
the Toreador, having sex with someone? Is that where it starts?
Post-coitus.
Well, sort of.
Oh, it's post-coital. That's it. Okay, hang on. I've actually got the PDF.
Yeah, Huddy, do you wanna go?
Oh, it starts off with Leopold, and he's naked, and this woman he has with him is naked, and he's feeding off of, I think, the femoral artery or whichever artery runs through the thigh, and it's very descriptive of what's going on, which, as a since I'm the only woman on the panel here, as a woman, when we read things like that, the very first thing we look at is we can tell if a man wrote it or if a woman wrote it. Is the very first thing we can tell. And a man wrote it. It's very obvious.
Have you seen that tweet that's like, this is a man writing woman a thing? Like the light went onto her pristine breasts as she got up, and they jiggled merrily.
As she boobed boobily down the stairs.
She titted boobily down the stairs.
Yeah, there's a whole subreddit called Men Writing Women, which I recommend everyone read.
It's great.
It's great and true.
I would say there is an abundance of scantily clad women through this book.
Yes.
For sure.
And I had to actually ask my wife, who was an art major at one time, what a bonzetto was, because all this art terminology, I know nothing about it. And so Leopold is a Toreador. He's a vampire, and he is an artiste. He likes to sculpt. That's his personal form of art.
Yeah.
His medium.
Aside from sex, it appears to be his other medium.
Yeah.
But only in stone and marble, not living material like wood.
Yeah. Does he really explain why, or does he give some weird Toreador answer why?
He gives a weird Toreador answer.
Yeah, it's very vague.
And we find out much later that the art he creates is even weirder than I thought it would be.
Oh boy.
There's an art gallery scene, but for now,
we'll get to that.
he's like in his studio, just did the horizontal monster mash, as Huddy puts it.
Did you pick that one up?
Yeah, and basically he just goes, he drags on a little bit, as Toreador tend to do, and explains that what he does is that he strolls along Piedmont Avenue in Georgia or in Atlanta, and he looks for women who will. There's an actual terminology for it that we use nowadays, but I actually can't remember what it's called. But basically, it's a lot of homeless people do this. They will trade something for room and board for a night, and there's an actual term among the homeless population, but I don't remember what it is. And of course, he gives her a room. He drains her of a lot of her blood, apparently, because she's very weak and tired afterwards. And he gives her a room to sleep in, and he leaves her money and drugs.
A little bit of coke, yeah, just to make her feel like she tricked him instead of the other way around. Yeah.
Right. And I can't remember if in the first chapter he goes into his problem with his artwork.
We can just.
It comes up later, but yeah.
I think we don't have to stick specifically to chapters, but we can talk about all the characters that start out, because his problem, Huddy, is that. What's his problem?
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
His problem is that he can't sculpt kindred, for whatever reason that he doesn't know, and he desperately wants to sculpt his sire, but he can't quite remember. He has like sort of snapshots of what happened and what she looks like, but every time he tries to sculpt a kindred, even if he's picked up a random kindred off the street that he is a friend of a friend, he can't sculpt them. He just can't do it.
I think he's able to sculpt if they're not kindred, if they don't tell him. Yeah. He has a friend pick models for him, but the reason he can't remember is he thinks at least his sire has done something to his memory, so he won't remember her, because he does it to mortals, like he blurs their memories.
There's a lot of memory manipulation in this book, where and he's thinking that his entire history of himself that he remembers, like being a starving artist, eventually finding a patron, the patron turning them, and he's fairly convinced that the patron is just a figment of whoever's imagination that rewrote his memory. So he's not sure about where he comes from, and he wants to find out through his art, which is a weird way. But I found it very funny that he got a bunch of different people, vampires and mortals, to model for him, and he's like, I will try to sculpt you. If I don't know who you are, whether you're a vampire, then I'll probably be able to do it. And he can, except for this one guy who he pisses off by like immediately figures out that he's a vampire because he says something. And he's like, no,
he says something very Bruja or very Anarch, whatever it was. Yeah.
That's it. Oh yeah, he annoys one of the Anarchs, who turns up once in the rest of the book and then disappears, because that's what this book does.
Gives you characters, lots of them to work with. And I think before Leopold heads off to do the next thing he's going to do, he does enter, like, he has this thing, right? Sometimes he will enter a trance-like thing when he makes his best sculptures. And he really tries to force himself to sculpt his sire again. And he does achieve this trance-like state. And the figure that he sculpts is the local Toreador Primogen, Victoria Ash, who apparently is a recent arrival in Atlanta after the blood curse, we'll talk about in a little bit, has annihilated the population. So he starts suspecting that she might be his sire. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know.
And he also admits that he's like super attracted to her. Shocking.
He goes French kissing with the statue. So that's the thing.
That's right.
That's the weirdest. What medium does he use for that? He's like using clay or something.
Clay. Yeah.
So he makes out with an unfired clay statue, which must
Toreador.
But then he sticks his tongue in, and then all I can imagine is just the mouth of this statue is all messed up.
Fucked up.
Just because he's tried to French this statue, and He's so weird as a character.
He's so weird.
Yeah,
He's so
he's weird as hell.
Something I do like about Leopold, though, is that he, like the writer of this book, puts a lot of work into presenting how a neonate, a recently embraced vampire, will be living. So he's got this pretend home with pretend food in his cupboards, and he's got this old clunker that he's driving around, and he's making do. He's almost living the same way he did when he was immortal. And he's also got these ideas that, I'm not entirely sure how the blood bond works. Is it 5 times? Is it 2 times? He's got ideas that kind of is how it is, but obviously he doesn't have access to all the information. And that is something that will be reoccurring in the book, that there will be characters who know more about it. Yeah, he's an idiot. That's for sure. But it's interesting, the fact that they have misleading facts, and he mentions the Sabbat, but he doesn't actually know what the Sabbat is. I think it really, I think it portrays the life of a recently embraced vampire fairly well. Someone who tries to stay out of politics and do his own thing.
Yeah, he mentions that he doesn't know a lot of vampires because he's like, who can help me with my problem about how I don't know who my sire is properly. Yeah. And then he's like, well, there was this one creepy vampire who just sort of turned up at my house. I guess I'll go ask her.
Yeah.
Well, he did know one vampire who is how he knew Hannah, which was Stella, the caitiff.
Oh yeah, he's made friends with a caitiff who's basically an outcast, like him.
Like a caitiff.
Stella is my favorite character in the book. Justice for Stella.
I would agree. I would agree.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that's essentially Leopold's side of the story. Then we also get some insight into the rising conflict between the Anarchs and the Camarilla in the city. The prince, who is named Benison. And we don't know which clan Benison belongs to initially, but he and the...
Malkavian.
Yeah, we know that later, but they don't reveal that when they reveal the thrilling motorbike chase of a ghoul who has some vital information that he's bringing to the his Bruja leader, who turns out to be the Primogen, Thelonious. So Thelonious is apparently in a conflict with... or at least the Anarchs are in a conflict with Benison, and Thelonious has Anarch leanings.
Yeah, this bit confused me, because Thelonious is the Bruja Primogen, but he's chilling with the Anarchs.
Yeah.
He's also an Archon, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's
Thelonious is the Archon.
No, that's
who is that?
That
Julius.
is Julius. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. There's also Theo Bell, who is Theolonian. Like I for a long while, I thought Theo Bell would be appearing in this, but he's mentioned. He's mentioned once.
Yes.
Remember that.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters in the story, but essentially the prince is sending helicopters chasing and strafing with miniguns or something, trying to get this ghoul.
I feel like that might be a masquerade breach.
Yeah, it's pretty
helicopters aren't a vampire.
So there's this really intense war between the Anarchs and the Camarilla in the city,
and it escalates to the point where this ghoul with the vital information dodging bullets round a
helicopter gunships,
and he's
like, he rides the side of the motorcycle.
He surfs it. He surfs the motorcycle.
It's really jarring going from Leopold and like astral projecting and making out with the statue to this.
Oh yeah, for
it's
sure.
So funny.
I mean, I read the book before, but then coming back to it, I was like, oh my god, I didn't remember all this. But yeah,
it's so ridiculous though. I love it because it's just like he rides the side of the motorcycle twice, and then it's described as getting completely ruined, but he rides it along anyway.
Oh yeah. It's a resilient bike.
Yeah. It's probably
and then they shoot down 2 of the choppers with surface-to-air missile launchers.
Yeah, they have missile launchers.
Yeah.
Which apparently, I don't think this is a spoiler, but which apparently the prince has been given to the Anarchs.
When
I read the part, I was like, what?
That's that section of the story with like what Victoria Ash's plan, what she thought her plan was.
Yeah.
And what was actually happening and who gave who
it's
what.
Irrelevant.
So confusing and, yes, entirely irrelevant.
Imagine a court run by a Malkavian being confusing.
Oh well, yeah. But that is the introduction of Thelonious, who won't be making another appearance for a while. And yeah, he's there and he's cool.
That's basically all we get. He's cool as hell. He tells the ghoul to GTFO. He feeds him his blood to like heal him because his arm's like hanging by a thread. And they basically use celerity to sprint out of there as the police raid the place. And then the ghoul hands him the message.
Yeah, he's running and reading.
He's like reading by running along. Oh, it's so funny.
I'm pretty sure right from that chapter we do then get to find out who gave him the letter and what it says. So that was nice. I wasn't expecting that.
I honestly don't.
Was that Theobel or was it?
No, it's Benjamin.
Oh, it's Benjamin.
The
right?
Venture.
Yes, we'll get to him when we get to the Elysium.
Yeah, I'm remembering that. Yeah. Thank you.
But then we go back to Leopold again.
No, we get to talk to the Giovanni first.
Oh, that's true.
Giovanni's next.
Benito.
Because he's a smart cookie.
Oh boy.
Benito Giovanni. That's certainly a slow boiler.
Wow.
Sure is.
So, who wants to talk about Benito?
Who wants to talk about
Who wants to talk
Benito?
about the katanas in the room?
I think I may have.
The bit where
Again,
he's like
this book is the book
phone.
I read is a disaster, so I am very much like
you're completely absolved of anything you've missed, basically.
Yeah.
If you remember Randall the Wraith, then you're on the right track.
I know Randall. Oh God.
Randall the Wraith. The I would say the MVP of this story. I think Benito is really
Randall
cruel
was
to him.
super cool.
Yeah.
And everyone was being a dick to him. But
Yeah.
that comes later.
Yeah.
Like that's two separate scenes that should be right next to each other.
Yeah,
really.
for sure. They should have
The first
certainly been.
one, what's his name, Giovanni?
Benito, I think.
Benito.
Yeah.
Does someone want to take this? Because I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever read.
It is.
I don't.
Yeah, Huddy, you wanna?
Oh God. Okay, so we get introduced to Benito. Almost said Mussolini. Giovanni. Who's sitting.
The famous vampire family, Mussolini. Oh God.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
Stereotypes are hurtful. So we get Benito Giovanni sitting in an office somewhere in Boston, being super OCD, rearranging his phones on his desk, and
he's got
waiting for
3 cell phones in like 2001.
That was big news.
And he keeps getting a call from someone who keeps calling, and I don't remember exactly what he was
999.
saying. It gives him ominous messages, and he knows who it is, but he doesn't reveal to the audience who it is because we don't deserve to know.
Oh, because I was under the understanding that he was getting cold calls that are like breathing down a phone.
He was,
then-
and then eventually they said something, and he knew
Oh.
exactly who it was.
Did he know who it was, or did he know what they meant?
Well, it was one or the other. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
knew who it was. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's essentially something that made him cancel his plans to heading for Atlanta, right? Because he was going to attend. I think he was going to attend the party, Victoria's party.
He might have been, but I know he specifically said he sent someone in his place.
Oh, to spy on it. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he canceled his plans, didn't reschedule them, and did he talk to Randall? I think he talked to Randall.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
that first bit, yeah.
His housebroken wraith, who hears the shadows, but the shadows don't have a lot to say right now.
Yeah.
He's all spooky, but it is the single most overthought section of this book.
Yeah.
He's staring at his phone, being like, "Should I pick up on 1 or 2 rings?"
Yeah,
And
he's
when they
playing,
don't say anything, Maya must bluff to make them imagine that I do know who it is. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's Machiavellian phone calls, that's for sure. And someone's basically been calling him and hanging up after a little bit, so he has nothing to go on, except that the number The number is for specifically the Giovanni family line. So it's someone
Yeah.
who knows the family line. That's why he's so upset about it.
Yeah, it wouldn't just be
Yeah.
a kid accidentally.
Yeah,
ringing him or
prank
something.
calling the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benito Giovanni.
Yeah, because
Is your
apparently
your refrigerator running.
I actually remember reading that and being like, "What is that area code?" Because they specifically say what area code it is,
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
it's no
like-
area code.
No, it's not
doesn't
because
exist.
it's
like
just
star
it's like
hash 3
yeah,
or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be an actual area code. It's just 3
Yeah.
numbers or 3 symbols.
Yeah.
But I think he's like, oh, it could be from Atlanta, Georgia. It could be Georgia regional code, which is supposed to hint that maybe it's someone calling from Georgia. Who knows? Or his number is closed. It's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing because he has cell phones for New York, Boston, and then I can't remember what the third one is. And then he has, or maybe I think that third one is just specifically for Giovanni calls.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably it.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's Benito Giovanni, who we
Yeah,
will
he
see again.
gets a call. He's like, he hears something that we don't know what it is,
Mhm.
so it's not
Yeah.
particularly dramatic. And he goes and drops the phone, and that's where it ends.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then he bitches at his ghoul, and then he bitches at his dumb cousin, apparently Michael
yeah.
or whatever his name is, and then it
Yeah.
ends.
Oh, yeah, Michael is the poor guy. Yeah, we'll get to him later.
Oh, yeah.
God.
I like him.
I do too.
I like Michael. I like all of. I'll be honest. I like this book, even if we're riffing on it right now. I think it's very 99 vampire. I get a lot of, maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but as far as a book that's written for a game, it's not that bad. I've read the Warcraft novels. They're not good at all. They're way worse.
But then we go back to Leopold.
That's true. He's going to Hannah.
That's it.
He's going. Oh, sorry, Josh.
No. If you wanna describe this one, I quite like.
Sure. He's going to Hannah, who is the mysterious Tremere that came to his studio a while back. So he's like, Tremere are magical, so they should probably be able to help me out. And the chantry is guarded by a couple of dogs, pit bulls, I think. And when he gets inside, he sees all these weird things. Like he sees a top that keeps spinning, never stops. Obviously stolen for a movie later on, so that's could certainly sue someone for that one. But yeah, he gets into the chantry. It's sufficiently spooky and weird, and I'm actually willing to bet that the mysterious mechanics of the new LA chantry in Bloodlines was taken directly from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's, if you don't follow the exact pathway you're supposed to go, you get lost or put somewhere you shouldn't be. And the ghoul that arrives basically has to say the name of the person he's going to, so a little light can guide him. And he arrives to, sorry for the splash there in the background. He arrives to see Hannah performing this ritual, standing in a pentagram with 5 candles burning, and she's got this red mist that she's conjuring, and she's using finger symbols, and it's all very complicated. And she essentially creates a small vial of blood with this blood red mist. And Leopold's like, oh, you showed me how to do this ritual. And she basically tells him, well, how do I do it? And obviously he doesn't have any idea how to do it.
This Leopold is an
Okay,
idiot.
so
He's an idiot.
I had this scene. This is just me being dumb and ADHD.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
this scene made me think of was like the hand signals. Like it just made me think she was like throwing up blood gang signs. That would be hilarious.
Isn't that
Seriously.
basically what Tremere do when they do those things?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's very she's very severe, described as being very plain looking as well. Like there's a lot of focus on women's appearance in this book.
And believe me, I noted every time that Leopold would be like her body be bagging, but not a butterface.
Yeah, he's certainly
Well, the
not
thing is,
kind.
Victoria Ash does it as well. She's like,
Victoria Ash is
I
the
guess
worst.
She would look
Everybody's
good,
just
like, in a
nagging this
classical
Yeah.
era.
poor Tremere.
Yeah, it's. I feel like Victoria Ash also doesn't have a leg to stand on, considering her own background as she was a camp follower, so she really shouldn't be getting on poor Cindy's case. But we'll get to that later. But basically, Hannah goes, "All right, so now you see me do this ritual. I will tell you why you're here. You're here to find out who your sire is. And Leopold's like, how did you know? Because
Could it be because you're magic?
and then she goes, I will tell you who your sire is. You will drink this blood, and then you will sculpt me. And Leopold goes, I can certainly try. And she pulls off her robe and goes, no, you must sculpt me. Know my body.
Oh, yeah, she has really specific requests, like it has to be life-size
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
as
Yeah.
lifelike as possible, which
Yeah.
I know is a problem for you. So, have at.
Yeah, and she
Grab
won't
me.
model. She won't model for him, so he's got to like feel her up.
Yeah.
He
So
has to.
Which he does, which she even points
He has
out that
an
he was
awful
very
time.
thorough. So, but it's cool because he also goes into this trance while he does it. So it's fine. It's fine. We don't get the
Yeah.
details. But yeah, that's
But later she's like, yes, you were very thorough.
like everyone wins as reading that book. But man,
Yeah.
16-year-old me was loving that book.
Yeah.
But then he drinks the blood, and she goes, "You will find out later. Now leave." And
Yeah, that's what she does.
Here, drink this now. Fuck off.
And she puts her robe back on, and she's like, "Get out."
yeah, and he's like, "Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have had that blood offered to me by Tremere, who I have been told are notorious in using blood magic. Oh well." So he heads off.
That's his approach to everything.
He's,
though.
Oh, well.
he's literally an idiot throughout the whole. I'm sorry, he's an idiot throughout the whole book. It's terrible.
It's glorious witnessing him through the eyes of another character because it's so obvious how awkward he is then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and the fact that I sort of imagined him as a player character
Uh-huh.
in a VTM game.
That would explain a lot.
Right? Because he's just like, I don't know, there's a thing over there. Press the button.
He's very much the vehicle for the story, I would say.
Yeah,
But I think that's all for the first part of the story, if I'm not mistaken.
that's the whole first part of the
Yeah,
book.
yeah. The build-up, the first act.
But we should talk about Benjamin because we didn't talk about him.
Oh, right,
'Cause he's
sorry.
also in the first part. So, and that's really brief. That's just the letter that was given to Thelonious was from Benjamin, who is in the Camarilla, and he is the prince's wife's child, who we'll talk about later. And basically, he's. I think that comes into play because Victoria Ash is trying to cause a rift between them because although they are both in the Camarilla, and Thelonious has leanings towards the Anarchs. Benjamin also has like a friendship or some sort of kinship with Thelonious and wants to help him and isn't happy with Benison's.
Yeah, they're both involved in civil rights stuff as well. Atlanta obviously has a lot of racial tension going on, and they're both on that side. Sorry for the interjection. Right. Yeah. It is a very it's a I would say powder keg because the prince, it would turn out, we'll get into that later, but he is an ex-Confederacy soldier, and obviously super racist.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And his wife, having embraced a black civil rights movement man, would be highly provoking as well as difficult for him. Like Victoria Ash is essentially doing some manipulation here. That's what's going on. But it is certainly something that if the Prince Benison would find out, it would cause quite a problem in his relationship with his wife Eleanor. Who she's a Ventru and he's a Malkavian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. The understanding I got from that particular situation is that either she asked him and no one knew, or to sire Benjamin, or more likely she didn't ask, sired him anyway, and the idea that coming out, either the prince would have to go, yes, of course I knew what was going on here.
Yeah.
He's fine, and that would cause all sorts of undermining of his authority. Or, as something else that would also undermine him, was just being like, well, fuck you, wife.
Yeah.
You have to take the punishment for siring without asking.
And it's sorry.
No, I was gonna say I think Victoria Ash rumorates a little bit, thinking that Benison doesn't know. She's not sure though.
And a huge source of the tension we find out, I think it's in this arc, maybe it's in this part of the book, or maybe it's later in the middle, is that Benison has been very freely giving away the right of embrace to a lot of vampires and the right of domain, because the city was devastated by this blood curse that's mentioned several times in the book, which wiped out a vast population of vampires. Interestingly,
Never explained.
Yeah, this blood curse is never mentioned, as far as I know, in any official role-playing material. It is apparently the main theme of 3 other novels that I had never heard of, so might be reading those at some point. But it is mentioned very repeatedly throughout this book, and they do explain what it is, but apparently Benison allowed a lot of vampires leeway in getting domain in the city or rights of embrace, except for Bruja and vampires with anarch leanings, which is a huge source of this rising tension, because he's essentially provoking Thelonious. I'm sure the prince knows that Thelonious has anarch leanings to act first, to act out against the prince. So it's your typical Camarilla city, really, if you think about it. Very politics on several different levels.
Yeah, I thought a lot of the politicking was interesting, and some of the ideas were kind of cool in that, but where were we in the book at this point?
The second arc.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
That was it.
No, someone else has to field this because I cannot do Gloria. Oh my God, Victoria Ash justice. I cannot, because I don't particularly like her character.
I understand why. She's a mega bitch, basically.
If I had to hear her describe those doors anymore, I was going to lose my mind.
Fucking doors.
I love that part.
She's incredibly paranoid.
I love Victoria.
All this time, we're saying Chris is a Samichi or a Tremere. I think he's a Tory. I think he's secretly a Toreador.
I would not be against it. I love Victoria Ash unabashedly. She's the best. She's the best main character of this book. Sorry.
Yeah, I gotta say she is awful, but in a fun way for me.
Oh yeah.
I immensely enjoy just her bitchiness and bullshit.
See, I don't like her. I think she's quite smart, but yeah, we'll get onto that later. But oh god. Yeah,
she's in her car. That's where it
are we
starts.
at the bit where Victoria Ash is in the car and she's like, drive by slowly?
That's the part, yeah.
Yeah. So Victoria Ash appears for the first actual time in this book in a car being driven to a party, which I was expecting to be like the main, like the grand part of this, but it starts way earlier in the book than I thought it would, but that's fine. And she is on the way there. Basically, the way I read it, she was like pure anxiety brain going through every single permutation of what might possibly go wrong with her plan. She understands vampires, and that in all likelihood it's entirely possible that she's being controlled from behind the scenes and she doesn't even know it. She's paranoid about being like brainwashed, mind controlled, memory wiped, all of that stuff, which honestly I don't think she should be, but she doesn't know that yet. The chauffeur arrives, like checks that there's people there, and she she spies on the party because she's invested in Elysium having this super special glass. And the smartest thing she does is she has a pocket in her dress. Like she has a full-on Grecian,
in 1999, impossible.
dress.
Which is smart as hell.
Yeah.
Described as being held up by one brooch, which I thought was very funny. With a pocket in it. They're very forward-thinking. Victoria Ash.
Again, I'm not trying to harp on the fact that I'm the only woman on the panel, but again, can you imagine the fact that having a pocket in a dress is forward-thinking? Could you imagine? Women designers don't even put pockets in their dresses or in their pants.
Yeah.
You see, the pants I have, the pockets go like this deep.
Oh yeah,
It's
fake
terrible.
pockets is perfect.
I was wondering where a Toreador would put the pocket. So that leaves it up to your imagination.
It makes perfect sense to not have pockets, because then how else are you going to sell women the purses, you know?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, she's not described as having a purse.
She doesn't have a
and
purse, no. So the
she's
only
like a
thing she
fashionista,
carries
right?
on her body, except for the clothes, is this little opera glasses that can see through this opaque glass.
Oh yeah,
pack.
that's like the Elysium gimmick that she's wrangled her way somehow into getting. The entire Elysium, including interior walls, apparently,
she's
has
built a
this
mace.
special
yeah.
glass that she can't see through with her vampire powers, but she can see through with like little.
It's fine. It has something to do with light waves. She doesn't know how it works.
Yeah, she's like, it works, so I won't question it. Which honestly, it's a
It's
real
fine.
thing.
Yeah,
It is a real thing.
I thought it was
so-
but just isn't it like the Atlanta Museum of Art or something?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
she had to
Atlanta
pull quite a
Museum
bit of
Fine
strings
Art.
to change all the outside windows as well to this. 'Cause
I mean, it's vampires, man.
but
Museum.
she's in her car. She's on her way to the party.
Sorry, yeah. I
Oh
went
yeah,
off
that
on
would be a
one.
lot of windows. I'm looking at this building right now. Goddamn.
Yeah. Well, she's the Primogen. She's the Toreador Primogen.
And when you have a lot of presents,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and importantly, we learn her goal is to become Prince of Atlanta.
Yes, that is
She's
correct.
tired of being a Toreador Primogen. There's like, it's a problem city, basically. All sorts of horrible things going on that she thinks. We don't hear anything that she's like, oh, I'm going to solve this. No, she's like, I can take power here.
yeah. She's like, Benison's an idiot. I'm gonna get him killed, get power. It's gonna be good. But you mentioned she's very paranoid about being controlled by other vampires because she's obviously controlling other vampires. So she has devised a little system for this. She does a very elaborate coin toss in every decision she makes. This is something that's not present in future books, lore books, stuff like that. I don't know if she still does it, but she cannot trust herself to make a decision. So she'd be like, I have this brilliant idea. I'll flip a coin and see if I'm actually going to do it.
The coin is doors.
Yeah. Two
those
doors.
doors.
The 10 Commandments and Rodin's Inferno, or is
Gates
it
of Hell.
Gates of
The
Hell?
Gates of Hell.
The Gates of Hell.
So she has two doors into this into this gallery right next to each other, and essentially to get to those doors you have to go up an elevator. She has her ghoul controlling the elevator, who is supposed to like manipulate the timing of the elevator arriving and leaving so that only a couple of people arrive at once.
Yeah, but
So
never
that-
just one.
Yeah,
never just
two.
one. Always two. And so they can talk to each other as they go up and be awkward in some cases, and so that she can use an incredibly ridiculous long list of possible permutations of doors and people that go through it, so that she can decide whether or not she's going to attempt to become prince.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this again. I think this is a brilliant idea. I'm not even kidding. I enjoyed the part about this. I'm like, if I was a vampire and I knew about antediluvians, I would be doing this.
It's sort of a good idea.
It's
The
painfully
execution
elaborate,
has
but
something
you
to be
know,
desired, I think.
if you're a couple of 100 years old, doing it just a coin flip is gonna be boring.
Yeah, I
It
suppose.
would be simpler though.
It would be simpler.
You folks don't have any sense of the dramatics.
Yeah, my God. Where's the theatrics?
Yeah, exactly.
So
But yeah,
totally.
she wants at least two people to go up there because she has this elaborate system, which we don't actually find out what it is. We just know
we
that she
just
has
find out
it.
the permutation that does happen. Where
Yeah.
it's like this basically really young stripper Toreador turns up and is like, oh my
Cindy.
god, hey Victoria.
Cindy. Oh man,
then
I
they're just
feel
like-
for Cindy. Yeah.
Cindy's
tell.
like just reminded me of who's the Toreador influencer from Chicago Stories?
Oh God, you mean
Portia.
Portia, yes. That gave me Portia vibes.
I've never heard anyone speak British before.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, she said that. That's true.
No, you said that.
Oh, I said.
Oh god.
And I'll never forget it.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry for butchering poor Portia like that.
That's perfect.
It's perfect.
But yeah, Cindy, the disgusting stripper Toreador, like Victoria really hates her. Apparently, they were contesting for the position of Primogen.
Somehow.
Because
Cindy's sire was
the
the
previous
Primogen
one, yeah.
before, and
Yeah,
she
that was
died
it,
of the
yeah.
blood
Yeah.
curse or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So Cindy and Leopold are coming out and they're talking with each other, and there's tension in the air. I don't quite recall what she's.
Hang on, I'm gonna
Oh, sorry.
see if I can get to the bit in the book, because Cindy goes through one of the doors, and then
She goes through hell.
Like, sniping,
She does.
She goes through hell,
Yeah.
which is true, and
It's true.
like after sniping between Victoria and her, Leopold comes out all like stiff and awkward, like, "Hello,
Hi!
I need to remember how to human. I don't fancy you."
Hi, Victoria. Is my voice loud? Yeah, it's painful to see
It is.
Leopold, and Victoria has this kind of like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
She's like, how simple and stupid.
Yeah.
And from her, because we get it from her perspective, we don't get any like, here is the boy that I secretly sired. She's just like, huh, this kid's weird. Bit of good
Which
art,
could
though,
still mean
so-
that she sired him.
Bit
you
of
know?
good art, though.
It's true. He's also described as having constantly dirt under his fingernails, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
ooh.
hair just messy enough to look like he just woke up.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh man.
And then he annoys her because he spends so much time at the Ten Commandments door.
He's
Yeah,
literally.
so the door that he goes through determines whether or not she's going to do it. The prince thing.
Yeah.
And he dilly-dallies at the doors because he's like, oh, art.
Yeah.
In an art gallery, amazing.
And then he's like, did you get? And then she's like, go through the
Just
fucking
go.
door.
Because she hears the elevator from the bottom going up, and it's like, oh, come on. But eventually, yeah, she goes through heaven. She decides she's going to go through with it. Because
Yeah. He goes through heaven, right? No,
he goes through hell as well.
He goes
that's
through
right,
hell,
yeah,
so
that's
she
right.
goes through heaven,
Yeah.
which means that she's going to do it.
He just
And-
wanted to take 20 minutes to admire this one particular section of the Ten Commandments or
Yeah.
Heaven door.
Yeah, that's I think was supposed to be prophetic or something.
Yeah,
but I
but
don't
Yeah.
know
he
what it was.
also is like, how did you get your hands on Rodin's Gates of Hell? Apparently, it's a cast. Like, there's multiple copies of this gate. I looked it up, so it's not really that spectacular. It's not unique.
But I was kind of hoping what would happen is that the people would arrive in the elevator, distracting Victoria, and then she looks back and he's gone through.
gone.
And she
That's a
can't
missed
tell which door he
opportunity.
went
That's a
through.
missed
That would
opportunity.
have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
would have
also
loved
really
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, she settles on going through with it. She goes in. She mingles a bit with her crowd. She meets. Huddy's got to obfuscate for a little bit.
Huddy's,
That message is showing up
BRB.
on my window. Boop. There we go. But what happens after that? Is there another Benito scene, or
Is that the Benito's the katanas scene that you yelled about?
yeah? But before that, Victoria thinks a lot about sex. I wrote this down. This is very important. She spends an awful lot of time talking about how men and male vampires can be influenced with sex. Victoria likes to talk about sex or think about sex.
Yes.
That's how we know she's.
I'm sure Huddy has opinions, but Huddy will be back in a minute.
I'm very
Yes,
sorry.
He's obfuscating.
Yeah, but Benito. Oh boy. Did you, Harry? Did you read the Attack on Benito?
I don't believe I got to that part, unfortunately.
I'm sorry. Hi, Huddy. Welcome back.
Sorry, my dog needed some
It's
attention.
fine. It's fine. No worries. I just mentioned that Victoria Ash really likes to think about sex.
I was listening to everything you were saying.
Right. It's
These are
true though,
Bluetooth,
right?
baby.
It's true though, right?
Yes.
It's an inordinate amount of time spent on how she can manipulate people through it.
Yeah, most, I don't know. Maybe you can look at it as smart, or you can just look at it as someone who's really not confident in their own plans and constantly has to reassure themselves.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah.
to think so.
No, I read her as being extremely
This was very
anxious
important for
and,
me.
Like, Not confident at all.
No. Because I did want to point out though before we move on to Katana Boy, is is in the beginning we were talking about Leopold and how he like knows a little bit about kindred history but not a lot. Turns out Victoria Ash, she knows significantly more, I would say, but she still doesn't know. She still admits to herself that she's not really sure, is the Kane thing real? Are the antediluvians out there? She still doesn't know, and she's, besides side characters and characters mentioned like Hesha and stuff, she's probably one of the oldest characters that we get to hear personally from.
For sure. I remember why I pointed out, sorry, but just that the Victoria Ash thing is because she's constantly judging Cindy for being very like clingy to guys and stuff like that. Another missed opportunity is the fact that Victoria Ash used to be a camp follower, a sex worker, and stuff like that. It's never mentioned in this book, but I kind of get the feeling that the writer is kind of trying to be like, yeah, she's being all judgy, but she has a similar past. There's just like hundreds of years difference between them. But it's interesting because she's constantly judging Cindy on everything she does, and she's like, "Oh, she's so clingy. Oh, she's so desperate." And I
to be honest, women do that.
We
do that.
It's nasty, though. It's nasty behavior. But
I'm not proud of it.
Katanas.
Katana Boy. I'm curious to hear about this.
Oh God.
Because if what I've read of the vampire novels so far, because I've read little bits from multiple novels.
You've been all over the place, haven't you?
I have been around the world.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say, I'm curious as to how they handle a Giovanni Italian guy with katana swords.
It's not just any katanas. They belong to the famous ninja hunting tiger samurai.
The tiger warrior.
The tiger warrior.
Tiger warrior.
To the tiger warrior.
I was reading this
Sounds like
and all
something out of Kill Bill.
I was reading this and all I was thinking about are all those neckbeard memes. Like I can't remember them, but like I trained by the sword or whatever.
This was before
like
those.
A $25 sword they got from like a pawn shop.
I was expecting him to hit them and they fall apart.
Just breaks. The sword breaks.
But basically he has these he has this katana set like a wakizashi and katana standing on a shelf. It's decorative, but he has Randall the Wraith.
The Wraith is the best.
Who can wield these katanas? Because what happens is that ninjas appear, basically.
Randall the Sword Wraith.
Ninjas appear.
Darkness ninjas melt out of the floor and they're like, "We are here to kill you." And
they speak in text bubbles.
That everyone's mouth doesn't quite match up to like the words that they're saying, like one of those kung fu movies.
Oh yeah, it's like a badly dubbed ninja.
Yeah.
And this is World of Darkness. This is peak '90s World of Darkness, by the way. I didn't even raise an eyebrow at that.
But, I just want to meet this author now because this sounds like.
This is one of the guys who made Vampire the Masquerade who wrote this.
Huh.
Yeah. But essentially, there's a fight that breaks out. Benito's not much of a fighter. He tries to defend himself, but Randall does most of the job. He cuts off a guy's arm because he's throwing these katanas around, and they are so sharp that even the weak Randall can cut someone's arm off just by like with the sword. So that's the thing that happens.
I
gotta say,
sorry.
I promise I won't go on a tangent, but like I'm studying medieval history, especially around like technology and weaponry, and it like triggers me so hard, like katana fanboyism.
Yeah.
Just because, they were good swords, but like not exceptional.
No.
Like,
there's a whole thing we can. Talk about
I could go for hours. I won't.
Yeah, that's another video.
But essentially, he uses some clever mind control tricks on one of the assailants.
Oh yeah, he's just like
one of the ninjas,
and the other guy's like
one of the ninjas.
Yeah, exactly. But eventually, he gets overpowered. An alarm is triggered, so Michael and the Giovanni guards run in, but they can't see Benito. because he's hidden by these assassins who then meld away into the shadows to drag him somewhere. All the while this is happening, this long internal OCD monologue is going through Benito's head. Like, what are their plans? What are they going to do? Or are they going to do this? Or are they going to do that? So
yeah, if they don't want to kill me, they would have done it already. But now the guards are here. Are they just like playing for time? What's going on? Blah 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 blah. I hope this guy sees me. And then he's like, his windpipe's been cut off, so he can't make noise. He's obfuscated clearly by this super strong La Sombra assassin, and he's just going, help!
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Randall the Wraith, MVP, like chops off a bunch of arms, really into chopping off arms, gets the katanas destroyed because like the main dude yanks them off and then breaks them. Squashes them. But as soon as like a bunch of them had disappeared because they've been attacked or whatever, and then he's been captured, and then the people arrive and they turn off the alarm because they're like, we've got to search elsewhere. Randall's just like, no, press the alarm button. Look, pay attention.
And Benito's like, he's betraying me.
I know, that was so weird for me. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Like, okay, so, because Michael's like, hey, ghost. Randall, I know you're there.
Out.
Yeah, I know you're there. I can't talk to you, or I can't see you or hear you, but I know you're there. Stop messing around. So Benito has disappeared from his office. The alarm was triggered. They turned it off. It's triggered again. Like, he's messing with us.
Stop haunting the fucking office. God damn it. And then and he's even like looking around with his superpower vampire eyes and is like, And there's this really funny bit where the La Sombra guy holding him just kind of shuffles into the corner.
But yeah, I think Randall really, he did not deserve that. He did his best.
No, Randall was the best swords ghost.
And I would say in the entire 13 books, he's the best sword swinging ghost. Probably.
I think he's the best sword swinging ghost I've ever encountered in literature in general.
Yeah, for sure. I can't even think of another one.
Headless Horseman.
Yes.
Only goes for heads, not arms.
It's true. But yeah, that's a little aside that just happens in the middle of all this. And then we're back to the party.
Thankfully, it's the last one.
Oh yeah, it's in the last one. That's true. But the party, Huddy, do you want to go through what happens at the party?
Well, I can't remember, again, because it was Victoria Ash was sort of fading in and out of like her internal machinations, because I'm like, oh my god, I don't care. But because
you're such a La Sombra.
Well, because I was already aware it was going to work, because I was already aware of the events of this book. So I knew whatever it is she was planning isn't going to work. Plus, I know what she's doing in Modern Nights, and I know she's not Prince of Atlanta. So, because she's in LA by night. So, at least one episode. But so, I think the first thing I remember is the general. Is the very first thing I remember. I can't remember if something happens before that.
I don't think there's anything important.
No, that's the most important thing that happens at the party.
That was the most interesting part for me until the end. is the general, and apparently there's some sort of, again, I don't know anything about art. So Harry,
yes,
I'm sure he knows about art.
How can I help you?
I'm sure you know about art, right? You're in New York, aren't you?
I do. I'm a big. So. My parents were always taking me to museums all the time when I was little.
I wish I could. Does anyone have the book actually up? Because I don't.
I have it here.
Up right now.
The Count's. Let's see here.
The Count. Feast. That's the one.
Yeah, it's called.
What page?
157 in this book. I have no idea. Yeah. Oh, you had that one.
I just got the copy of it. Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I would say that their description of
Count
the actual...
Count Ugolino from Dante's Inferno. So I looked this one up. He's actually sitting in contemplation and looking kind of upset, and his 3 sons are at his legs, and they're like showing different signs of horror because he's contemplating eating them. Because this Count...
Oh, yes. I remember actually seeing this. There's a sculpture of it in the... Quai d'Orsay in Paris.
Yeah, Count
and it is. I mean, there's a bunch of different takes on it. I don't know if the one he was doing was the one by Jean-Baptiste. What was his last name?
Yes, I think it was that one.
I'm pretty sure that's the one.
That one.
Yeah.
That one is a good one. There's one in the Musée d'Orsay, which was it? Who the fuck? I gotta look this up.
How do you
because
know
it's-
this stuff?
Yeah, I can't believe you just remembered the name of the artist and this fancy French museum, and then you follow it up with what the fuck.
The
I
museum,
can't-
like, if you
I
ever
can't
get
put
the
that
chance,
together.
Yeah.
go to the Musée d'Orsay. It's great. But yeah, it's. I was just thinking of the one in the Musée d'Orsay, and they use it to like, it's Rodin. I think Rodin did a thing, did a one too. That's. Anyway, my point being, the Rodin one is a lot less classically and, by at least the standards of the day, appealing, but is much more animalistic and it just instills silence in you when you see it. It's kind of
It's Carpeau's Count.
There's Jean-Baptiste, and then there's a Rodin one as well.
It's
There's two very
Carpeau's
different ones.
Count Ugolino.
I can't remember which one they said it was.
Yeah, I'm seeing
Okay.
here on page 153.
See, Harry's the Toreador going, yes, this is a very
I-
interesting art
yes,
piece.
I
And
am-
we're the Bruja going, I'm fucking here for a party. What's
I can. Yeah, it's Petit Palais is the name. It's Ugolino Carpeau Petit Palais. I can link it.
Which I'm sure is something in French, right?
It's a very cool piece, though. I looked it up, and I love the design of it. And when you actually, when I first read this
that
book,
piece, yep.
yeah, when I first read the book, I had no idea what these art pieces were. And if you're reading, I can strongly recommend actually looking them up because it adds a lot to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had to
the
look
eyes
up
are
everything.
Yeah.
And the Count Ugolino, just sculptures in general, they were done as sort of a litmus test for artists.
Oh.
At the time, like, to prove that you were a capable artist and that you had, become not a master, but that you were ready to be a professional out of your patron's thumb, I guess you could say. Not, I don't think. that's-
Or out of the apprenticeship.
Yeah, out of the apprenticeship.
yeah.
I mean, you would do a sculpture of Count Ugolino, at least at the time. And so there's a lot of it, and it's very interesting to see because many of them follow in this in the Carpeau in the Petit Palais. A lot of them follow that style, that very classical Greek style. But it's very interesting to see the ones that deviate from that. And it's just such a it's commonly depicted, but the piece itself is always.
I love his expression because he's like clawing at his mouth while he's thinking about who to eat or something.
It's
All right, Josh,
very visceral.
We got to let these two Toreadors talk it out, apparently.
Sorry. it's a very impressive piece, and I love how the general adds to that. But Huddy, who is the general? Who's the general?
Well, apparently he's someone who came out of one of the mountains somewhere around Georgia or somewhere in the south, and
It's like
just
Big Mountain or something.
big
It's
or
called
Stone Mountain.
Stone Mountain.
Yeah.
That's one clever name.
I don't have the book open here, so everyone's calling him the general because they're assuming, based on the clothes he was wearing, that he was a Confederate general. But it turns out that he actually took the clothes from like a museum, and that's why he's wearing them.
I think a gift shop even, like he just,
Or a gift shop,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So nobody really knows.
And I think he's he does say that he was a general. I think.
I can't remember if that's in there
I
or
don't think
not.
he says anything at all, does he?
I don't think he talks. No.
I don't think he talks.
Oh.
No,
Oh,
because
he didn't
Benison
reveal-
was the general. as
Right,
well.
because he didn't reveal his past, and when Thelonious pressed him on it, he ripped out his own tongue and put it on the table. Like,
Oh yeah,
Correct.
that was it.
yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna tell you anything.
Which is hardcore as fuck.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
guy is great. I love him.
No, but that sort of made everyone go like, this guy's cool.
Yeah. And Benison was like,
Yeah.
he's a Confederate. He's a friend. We
Yeah.
probably fought next to each other.
Yeah.
Because was it Benison that
Yeah, he was a
pressing on
Confederate.
it? Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone hates Benison basically.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what this
Nobody
book
likes
should be
Benison.
called. Because he was like, you want to ask me questions? Rip.
And,
Plus, he's a
uh,
Malkavian. Is he also a Malkavian?
He's a Malkavian, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
everyone's guess, but then also he has the ability to meld with stone, and that's what he does with this
Right.
statue.
Isn't that
Which would-
something
which would say gangrel.
can do? Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
can.
it's Pertian.
I mean,
yeah,
But could have learned it from a gangrel,
yeah,
Could
absolutely.
have Diablerized a gangrel.
certainly. But
But he is a mysterious figure in this, and basically he climbs into he takes off all his clothes in
Right.
the middle of the room,
Yeah.
climbs up, squats down, and then melts into the statue, and
Yeah.
it changes into a grotesque, like, happy, smiling, like
Yeah.
huge
It's
grin.
I would say it's my favorite scene in the entire book.
It is a
It's
hell
mine
of a
too.
power move.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And and if he is a Malkavian, it's definitely foreshadowing very shortly what is to come.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, everyone has to keep on going, oh yeah, better not stand over there and spill my secrets because he's in there.
Yeah.
There's some other people attending this party as well. You got Stella, the hardworking caitiff, which is not thin blood, not necessarily. I think she is a thin blood as well.
I think that's the impression. I
Who is
have.
introduced that to having been almost raped twice.
Yeah.
What a
That's
great
the
way
first
to introduce a
interaction we
female
get.
character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that part didn't.
And
age
you know what?
well.
Really, actually, again, speaking as the woman of the battle,
Yeah.
you know what the worst part of it is that Leopold was present for both of these events.
Yeah.
For when she was sired
Yeah.
and for when she killed this person who tried to hurt her a second time.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything.
Nope. He was.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
only is
boy.
he like you need a male there
Yeah.
to be there for the story, and because obviously no one would ask and no one would talk about it anyway
No.
unless Leopold was there, and then he doesn't do anything, and that's really messed up.
Yeah.
And it's really
Yeah.
messed up that would happen, and then he wouldn't try and reach out to her or to help her, even have her living in his
Yeah.
weird house.
Wasn't it described as like the second time he came across like her being assaulted and like just him being there scared the other person away or something?
No, she.
No.
No?
I don't
Oh,
think
no,
so.
I'm-
Like she
I'm
cried.
No,
remembering
she-
it wrong then.
She cried
him
out his
being
name,
there-
but he
Yeah,
didn't do anything. And
him
then she
him
drained the
being
guy.
there is stopped her from draining again.
Oh
It
yeah,
bothers
she is-
me.
She
Yeah.
drank the
And,
Yeah.
I can't possibly imagine what the writer was thinking at that point, but I really don't think that was a conscious thing, being like, oh, look at Leopold, he's powerless or whatever. I think it was just like, oh, this is how we met her. She was being raped.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and then I ran into her again, and she was being assaulted again.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. And then what a weird place Len
her
is.
sire tried to rape her because he was so hopped up on drugs, and then he realized he was a vampire, so he embraced her instead, and it's very hand wavy. Justice for Stella. I really hope she survived this. I don't think she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I've never read these books, but Stella
She-
was cool. She was
yeah.
actually nice to Leo.
And she worked
Yep.
And
super
once again,
hard.
Leo is just an idiot
Yeah.
asshole.
Yep.
She
As
also
always.
had tabs on all the clans. She kept tabs on gossip. She worked super hard to be accepted into the city, despite
Yep.
being caitiff. Justice for Stella, man. She did not
Yeah.
deserve any of this.
And if I'm not mistaken, he says something disparaging about her looks, whether her face or her body, and I
Yeah.
don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Victoria also is like, oh, she's kind of cute, I guess. She's working with what she's got.
Yeah,
Which is
I
also,
can't really take anything Victoria Ash says seriously because everything is dripping with sarcasm.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything is this defensive thing because she used
Yeah.
to be a prostitute.
You're going, Huddy, without spoiling anything, I think you're gonna love a book that's coming up after this one. I think it's
Oh,
next
boy.
one or the one after that, because you're gonna
Well,
get
the
some
next one's
catharsis.
the Samichi book. if I'm
Yeah,
not
you're gonna
mistaken.
get some catharsis.
Ooh.
Just putting that out there.
I already
Okay.
started reading it, so I know.
Square. All right.
I know. Nerd.
Yeah, and she's the only one who calls him Leo, and he hates it, but he doesn't correct her. So that's the thing.
important things to Leo are not important to anyone else.
No.
And oh my god, another small scene that I think has very little to do with the main story, so we can just take it right now. There is a ministry member or followers of Set at the time there
Yeah.
called Vegel or Vegel. Vegel, I would assume.
I always thought of it as Vegel.
Vegel, yeah.
Vegel.
And he's a representative of Hesha, who is another very famous member of the what are they called again? The characters who
Followers.
represent clans. I keep forgetting that word. But basically, he's there representing Hesha.
Justicars?
No. Just meta-wise, you have a character representing each clan. Victoria Ash is Toreador. You have
Oh, he's the
signature
clan novel.
signature character.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Hesha is the signature character of Follower Set, and Vegel is there as his representative to attend the party, and he's there for another reason. But he finds Leopold's statue because Leopold was commissioned to do a statue for this party. And
I really actually like this part.
yeah, it's super
Yeah.
good because this party is full of very poorly hidden symbolism. There's a whole lot of Cain slaying Abel, like there's a whole forest of dead Abels basically, and he finds one which is like grotesque, which has these kind of deformed Cain and Abel. Cain
they've got
strangling,
really big heads.
yeah, and long arms,
Cain's
like
strangling
Yeah.
him with rope.
and Cain is looking like kind of like
They've
he
got weirdly shaped,
yeah,
like
and Abel's
proportions.
looking excited almost to go to heaven, and he's strangling him with the umbilical cord because apparently these two are infants. And just as he notices this guy behind us like, it's garbage, right? And
Should have made it out of wood.
it's Leopold. It's like
It's
fishing
Leo.
for compliments. and Vegel is like, it's okay, I guess. It's like, oh, it's just this artist hanging around. And Vegel's like, there's no way I can have a
And this
serious
is
discussion
important.
with
This
this
is
guy.
actually an important scene for later.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Because Vegel's like, yeah, I don't like talking to artists about their own work because they can basically say whatever they want.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Experts in
Yeah,
their
you can't
stuff,
interpret
so-
their work because they're the experts.
Yeah, I can't interpret this now. It's useless to me. He's like, cool, great work. I gotta be elsewhere now though.
Yeah, just bye.
Yeah.
Nobody likes Leopold.
No one should like Leo.
Well, except for Stella.
Yeah,
Poor
poor
Stella.
Stella. And I guess
Oh,
Cindy
God.
was kind of hanging on to him as well a little
She was hanging on more to the gangrel, who then,
Oh, God.
again, he like eventually shoves her to the floor,
Yeah.
and like it's
That's the end
totally
of Cindy.
justified.
Yeah.
It's totally justified in the narration because she's just like she's being like a clingy bitch, okay?
And
Yeah.
that's from
What?
Victoria Ash's perspective as well, right?
Yeah, but nobody helps her up.
No,
one
it's
helps
like
her.
totally justified in the book, and they make like certain everyone knows that Cindy is like she's like really trashy, and she's just like hanging
Yeah.
out with all the guys, and it's like super annoying.
And he almost pushed her off one time before, but he saved her then, and she didn't learn her
Gentlemanly
lesson.
saved
yeah.
her.
So she didn't learn her lesson, and now she deserves to be
God.
pushed to the floor. It's it's not
It's,
a
yeah, very
It's men
different
writing
anyway.
women. It's
Yeah, this ain't
Yeah.
age beef. It's,
Shall we go to the cool bit with Vagel though?
oh yeah
yes,
Because I loved that entire section,
me too.
Mm-hmm.
all of that. We're entirely out of order at this point.
That's
but,
fine, that's fine.
Like it's the book is out of order in sections, so it's tough to keep track.
yeah
But yeah, let's.
I
go to
think the
Vagel.
only thing that comes before that is just Thelonious and Benjamin. They talk, and
Yeah,
they realize that somebody's playing them. I think that's the
Yeah.
only
Oh
thing.
yeah,
that
yeah. They were like, "But you sent me a
Yeah.
message. But you sent
happened.
me
It
a
was the
message."
Spider-Man.
And you're
It was
like,
the Spider-Man.
yeah I think we can just follow Vagel now, and at a certain
Yeah.
point we can go back to the party because I think they mesh really
They do.
neatly, yeah
Vagel's bit is so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Who wants
Well,
to go
you
to
love
this?
it so much, Josh. Go for
go
it.
go Josh.
Okay. So Vegel's Setite, he is here specifically on the orders of Hesher to meet with a Nosferatu called Ron?
Rolf. Yeah,
Rolf
Rolf.
yeah
That's
Rolf.
it. Rolf.
great Nosferatu name, by the way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he meets by a very specific statue at a very specific time, and Rolf's like, "We owe your master a big old favor for a place, something that happened in Bombay."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, I don't know what that is, but okay." And he's like, "No guarantees that this will get you off the hook for whatever you owe my master for Bombay, but yeah, sure, whatever. What is it?" And he's like, "I've got the evil eye." And he's like, "Is it called the Eye of Hazimel?"
I have Hazimel, yeah.
Which I don't know what that is.
It
out of
is
the
a
book.
MacGuffin that will...
It seems to be a MacGuffin, yeah.
It is a very,
It is.
very important item in the meta
Yeah.
plot.
Okay.
It's-
Well,
it's
I'm,
an-
I'm
it's-
willing
and
to
it-
not know.
It becomes an important item, like even stretching into other clans, like the Gangrel and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Eventually,
Beckett's Jihad
really?
Diary has this continuous
Yeah.
arc about it. I don't want to spoil it to you because it's going to have an importance in these novels as
So
well,
what
obviously.
I got from the book about it was
Yeah.
that it is the eye of an old vampire.
Yes.
Like a really old vampire
Yes.
tore out their eye and it's magic or something.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I can't detect anything here. Are we going to have to arrange something?" He's like, "No, it's in that statue." And proceeds to, after they discuss it for a bit, he's like, give me a sec.
Yeah.
Pokes his hand into the eye of this statue. It like goes into another dimension. He's like and then this Nosferatu just like going around. He's like, you have to leave via that door at exactly 1 minute to midnight, because otherwise you will not escape with this extremely potent item that people can basically detect from anywhere because it's so powerful. It's hidden right now, but as soon as I give it to you, you got to go. And then he's like, okay, well, you ready? And it's like blinding light, and everyone's seemingly not able to notice this, even though they're standing not that far away and in direct line of sight, because the guy's clearly using obfuscate to hide the stuff that's going on, which is cool. And then he gives it to Hazamel, and Hazamel's like, sorry,
To
Vagel, and then he's like, farewell. And he just leaves. He's like, I don't like someone else preparing me an escape route, but apparently something's going to happen to my chauffeur, so I guess let's leave. And then he takes this really interestingly described route out of the high art gallery. It's like a disused
Service tunnel or
elevator
something.
shaft.
Yeah.
There's a weird long corridor that lights up as soon as he opens the door, and then lights turn off as soon as he opens the final door. It's a really cool escape route, basically. It's overly complicated. There's lots of fun stuff going on there. And he's thinking, like, every time he's like, wait, which way do I go? He's like, oh, I'll go this way. It seems the most obvious to me. He's like, I feel like I should not be doing this because someone else prepared it. But it's too late now.
Mm-hmm.
And then he eventually gets out. I think, meanwhile, his chauffeur basically sends a message to Victoria Ash, which is like, yo, Hesh is on the phone.
Yeah.
Find Vagel for me. And she can't find Vagel, goes down and is like, God fucking damn it, I don't want to leave the party, but if Hesh is actually on the phone, this could be important.
Yeah.
And then she comes back later and is like, that was an interesting conversation I had with Heschel. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
Those things I'm sure will play out
Yeah.
in other novels.
And
what happened?
That's my assumption.
And I think we can leave it at him going out through this exit, because we can go back
yeah.
to the
Because then
party here.
important stuff happens.
Yeah. So I think actually the conversation between Thelonious and Benjamin didn't happen before the prince arrived. I think Benison arrived before that.
No, I'm pretty sure that happened
That's
first, and then
right,
Benison came.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Because she went... Oh, that's right. She went into her little hidey hole. Victoria has a little hidey hole in this maze she made, where she can watch everywhere. And she has a little hatch in the floor. Very important foreshadowing there. But she's in there for like 5 minutes reading the lips of Thelonious and Benjamin before the prince arrives. And when he arrives with his wife in tow, almost right behind them are 2 caitiffs. And it's such an absurd sight because they're full on daunt or awe, you know. Everyone's like, oh,
Yeah, they're like, look at me with my vampiric
and then you have 2
power.
puny little caitiffs like,
And then there's these caitiffs like poking it. I imagine them poking their head
Yeah.
around the door like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Am I in the right place?
So Thelonious just laughs out loud at this, and Benison, of course, flips his shit, which he's known to do. Like, he seems like a very unstable prince. I mean, he's a Malkavian.
Yeah, so shocking.
Yeah, but he flips his shit, and there's this oh, you want to go between him and Thelonious. But I think it's someone cools it off. Is it Victoria?
I think it's his wife, isn't it?
I was
yeah.
saying, I think it's Eleanor.
Oh yeah, Eleanor is just like, no, let's
Yeah.
not. Oh, I think, is it Eleanor who says, remember, this is Elysium? And Bennett's
Yes.
like, I'll get rid of the Elysium.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, why couldn't the whole book just be Benison screaming?
He seems like a juiced up hardestat from how he's acting.
Yeah, he's like worst prince ever, and
Yeah.
yet everyone's terrified of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens, and then
The Bruja Archon arrives. I think that's the next most
Yes.
important.
Julius.
Julius, the Bruja Archon, with 2 swords on his back.
and a bandolier with
Of
something.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a scene out of Hot Fuzz, which
Yep.
didn't come out
Yeah.
for another... When
Yeah.
did Hot Fuzz come out?
Oh god, 20.
That was 2000.
maybe more akin to Boondock Saints, the
Yeah.
dad from
Oh,
Boondock
God,
Saints.
yeah.
comes.
2007.
But he has this he has dreadlocks. He is described as wearing baggy pants and a turtleneck, I believe.
Very similar, I think, to what the sheriff in Bloodlines wears.
Yeah, I think so.
he's got big dreads. He's
Yeah.
very handsome and
Is
muscular
reputed to
and-
have been a Roman gladiator.
Mhm.
There's some wit being exchanged between him and Victoria.
Yeah, he's very dry and like to the point, and Victoria's like all flowery and like, well, I suppose your presence will be appreciated by the prince. And he's like, yeah, he doesn't know. I loved him.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
But basically, this is calling back, like around here with Thelonious and Benjamin and everything like that. This is calling back to the part we were talking about before with the missile launchers that apparently Victoria had convinced Benison to give to the Anarchs.
Yeah.
But they don't
yeah.
go into detail about how she was able to convince him of that, right?
And I don't understand why he would do that to begin with.
It makes it sound like he lost a bet.
Yeah, something like that. It was strange. But then it feels like filler.
Yeah.
Because eventually Julius and Benison decide to square up.
Yeah. So I think the play here by Victoria was to get Julius, who was basically technically higher ranking than the prince in some senses, to come to the thing, piss off Benison by not telling him he was here, approach him with all these accusations of like fighting the Anarchs way too loudly, like having people sired without permission, and all of this stuff. And it doesn't matter, because like they start to square off, and Benison's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then Julius is like, I would love to see you try.
And meanwhile, the general is just in the count the whole time.
Yeah, he's just like,
doing his weird face.
Which just tickled me endlessly.
Yeah, I love the general. There are some really good characters in this book, I feel.
Yeah. But I think then is when all of a sudden the book turns into the plot explodes, basically.
Then the part begins where, everything you learned about Atlanta, everything you thought you would be relevant to this story,
Doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter, because the La Sombra, or rather the Sabat, enter the building.
Oh, it's both, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
like,
La Sombra,
shit, the
Tzimisce,
lights are
and
going-
and a whole bunch of war ghouls, I'm assuming, as well as La Sombra and Tzimisce, just kind of storm and crash into this party. And you have this moment where Julius and Benison just give each other a look, and then Julius hands one of his swords to Benison, because apparently Benison's a good sword fighter. And it's
so
cool.
cheesy. Oh
it's
my
cool
God.
because it's cheesy. It's so World of Dark. It's like, we'll handle this later. It's something I imagine from a Blade movie, you know. It's something I'd seen in a Blade movie. Like, we get bigger fish to fry, and he hands him the sword. But yeah, they go at it, and then there's a very graphic depiction of a war ghoul, who's definitely a guy, attacking Victoria.
Oh yeah. He has a third arm.
Yeah.
Because he's like, she's running away. She slips in blood and gore, and is basically rolling around on the floor trying to get away when this giant hulking thing.
And of course, she just happened to be in her I know it was not a constricting dress, but constricting dress and high heels, so it's hard.
Yeah.
As women have to wear.
Yeah, this 400-year-old vampire just went, oh no! Yeah. Then she starts getting battered by this third arm.
A giant phallus.
Yeah. And it also has tiny arms and a tiny head.
Yeah. And it just, because it's got tiny arms, tiny head, giant dick, and giant like torso. So it basically just falls on top of her and crushes her.
Yeah, and it starts flailing with her tiny arms.
Julius cuts its dick off?
He does. Which covers her in blood and other fluids. It's described as blood and other fluids. I think this is just to be like, hey, Tzimisce are weird and gross. We knew that already. We didn't need it.
I just imagine the Tzimisce making this. okay, what we need it to have a giant dong,
Yeah.
tiny little arms.
Once again, I don't want to spoil, but catharsis will come. Don't worry.
Okay, good, but
Yeah.
Jesus H Christ.
It's certainly a scene. I think it's definitely meant to be like, oh, Tzimitzi are inhumane monsters who are also gross. Again, you can do that without having big.
Yeah, but you know what? You can do that with any vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be real.
Yeah. I think, for example, that one of the vampires attacking another vampire on the parking lot, we'll get to in a second. I think that's actually a cooler Tzimitzi show off. But essentially, Victoria gets pinned under this thing, which is flailing with its tiny arm at her face. But she gets saved by Leopold.
Well, she calls out through her blood.
Oh,
She's like,
that's right.
She uses her power to summon someone to her, and
Yeah.
it's Leo of all fucking
And
people.
she even goes like, "Why did I summon him? Like, why Leopold of all people here?"
There's this moment where she's clearly like, "Fuck, I'm dead."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, someone in chat is saying it's like a Silent Hill monster. I agree. Although a little bit not. I wouldn't call Silent Hill subtle, but less subtle than Silent Hill.
Yeah. It's like the hypersexualization thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm down with, but it doesn't fit.
No.
It doesn't
Not when
fit
not
right
when
with
you're
sort of
slapping your
Toreador
protagonist or
weirdness.
one of your protagonists with it. Anyway,
Either way.
he breaks the head of the neck of this Warghoul, potentially Warghoul, we don't know. But then he's pulled away. We don't know what happens to him.
Oh yeah, he gets tentacled, and there's this internal monologue of his. He's like being thrown around. He's like, why did she summon me? Smash.
Yeah.
I guess it's because she's really hot. Smash.
She's probably my
Maybe
sire.
she is my sire because I heard her in my brain.
Arm
Smash.
flies off. But yeah, he gets chucked out a window, and she manages to get into her hidden escape route.
And she's like, screw these dead nerds.
Yeah.
At what point doesn't Pennison die? Doesn't he get?
We don't know. I don't think
We
we see
don't
him
know.
die.
She doesn't, or she assumes that she saw it, or she thinks that she saw somebody get decapitated.
Yeah.
And she hears like Julius like crying, like battle crying, and then she doesn't hear that. So she assumes that most people are dead.
Right, that's what it is. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't actually know who survived that, apart from a couple of characters.
Right.
But yeah.
But she makes her way to the garage. She tries to get something out of Vagel's car. All the ghouls in the garage are dead, by the way. Then she's found out. She's spotted by some Sabbat, and they start chasing her, and we don't know what happens after that.
And then she like celerity runs at a million miles an
Which
hour
I can just imagine
down the
looks
street.
so silly. But
Yeah, just Naruto running at 90 miles an hour.
oh my god, Victoria Ash Naruto running. I would pay to see that.
I want that fan art.
Yeah,
But it is foreshadowing, because I've already started the next book. It is foreshadowing for the next book that she does mention that she doesn't feel like she's gaining it much ground.
Oh yeah, that's true. And she's also is it her who's no, it's not her who's surprised that there's not a lot of commotion considering what's happening. That's another character because we're going back to
Vagel.
Yes.
Best character, unfortunately.
Excuse you, Randall, but
Excuse me, Stella, but
so Vagel leaves this super secret, wibbly wobbly, no one knows where it is, escape route, goes into an alley, immediately surrounded by Tzimitzi ghouls, like it's the Tzimitzi weird floppy people with like tentacles for fingers, and then he's like, shit, the Nosferatu sold me out. And so he tries to get away. He has this whole fight with them where he like sprays blood in their like poisoned blood in their face, and like their face melts, and like he stabs one and it goes into their bloodstream with a like ankle knife.
There's two giggling sorry for the bubble there again. There's two giggling weirdo spider-like vampires. There's one big brute that's just roaring, and then there's the guy with the fleshy. I think he just splits his fingers into like tendrils and uses them, and he gets knocked out like right away. But yeah,
he's like surrounded, clearly outmatched, and he has this really cool fight, I think, with these Tzimitzi, and like his last-ditch attempt to escape, because he has the Eye of Hazamel in his breast pocket, is unfortunate. When I was reading this, I was like, oh shit, even if he does survive, his master's probably going to just kill him for leaving it behind and letting it get stolen by these people. But yeah, he slides out of his own skin and suit and like snakes away into a parking lot and hides. And then they're like, "Oh, where'd he go?" And they're like, clearly big dumb brutes going, "Hey, you! Why did you let him survive?" And he the big one drains someone.
At one of the spider twins, yeah.
And that was really cool. And then he blacks out.
Yeah.
Then he blacks out.
Yeah.
And then shall I do the next couple?
Yeah,
of bits?
sure.
You're like so stoked on this, Josh.
I like Hazamel. I like the Vagel.
Yeah.
He was cool.
I felt the same way when I read it the first time. Vagel was one of my favorites. Oops.
Yeah. He yeah, then after a while he wakes up after having blacked out from the pain and his ribs are crushed and stuff, and he's like, I'm screwed. I can't like move, basically. There's an entire side of my body I can't do anything with. And so he comes to the conclusion that the only source of power that might save him, I hate this bit because it was so good. He scoops out his own eye and puts the eye of Hazamel in there after like having looked for it, because apparently the Tzimisce didn't know it existed. They weren't after that. He was just a target.
Yeah.
Like there's this whole thing where he's like, shit, they've stolen it. But no, he goes to his ruined clothes in the street and he finds it, puts it in, and then he basically puts it in, and then like
he kind of slams his head against his head against the curb just to get it in.
Yeah, he's trying to get out as he slams his head in and he's got his hand there, and then he blacks out again.
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful.
Yeah, because it's so strong.
And he feels something in there. And then something wakes up.
Oh yeah, and then there's a page of, and now I am complete.
Whoever actually has that up, can you how long is it? Because I would love for someone to read that out.
I think it's half a page.
It's like half a page, yeah.
Is it really that long?
Where is it?
I think it's in the third.
Yeah, here it is.
Right?
I've got it.
Yeah.
Hey,
right.
go ahead. Do your best.
Okay.
Best voice.
His laughter shook the stone walls of the tomb, so that in his delight he caused mild tremors on the lighted surface of the world. It was no matter. No one suspected he was here. In fact, no one had reason to believe he still existed at all. But now he was whole. What pleasure it would give him to play childish games again.
And done.
And then that's it.
And
It's
scene.
literally, because all of them are like dated and timed and placed. It's like Atlanta, 22nd of June, 1 o'clock in the morning. This one's like Tuesday, 22nd of June, 1999, 1:37 in the morning, the bowels of the earth.
Yeah, it's certainly a little jarring reading that part.
It was kind of cool because it's like a foreshadowy bit, but I was like, that's not going to pay off, is it?
It's like a D&D villain being revealed almost.
Yeah.
I would have put that at the very end of the book.
Yes, I would have ended the book with that.
They did it. They doubled down on it. They did it twice.
Did they do it twice?
Yeah, they did it twice. There was another bit at the very end that's like,
No.
and something else spooky wakes
Oh no,
up.
there was no single. This is in Manhattan. Yeah, there was no single
Oh,
voice.
right.
Where it's like a spooky Manhattan.
That's not the voice, though.
No, a half dozen
It's not the
workers get eaten up by rats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's
cool.
That's going into the next book.
yeah.
Mm.
But
I mean,
it's
it's cool,
yeah.
but they double down on it. You can't have two of those.
Yeah, I
novels.
agree. That part should
true.
have been in another novel maybe. But yeah, that's Vale. And then we rejoin Leopold, who wakes up
Fucking.
licking gravel, basically, for blood.
Oh yeah, he frenzied.
Yeah.
And like blacked out, and he was looking for blood, and he was like, "Oh, this tastes like dirt, but also blood."
Like, yeah, licking
Basically
everything.
Scooped out all the blood from the pavement, and then he realized, "Hey, why is there blood on the pavement?"
Yeah.
Hey, is Victoria Ash my sire? Probably also.
Yeah.
Can someone else do this? Because I love and hate this bit so much.
I'd say Chris should do this
All
since he's
right.
such a Toreador.
Leopold, of course, is having a moment licking blood,
my God.
described in excruciating detail how he's got gravel and stuff. And he also picks away chewing gum from his hair and then tears out the hair. And he's got a lollipop on his chin that he pulls out, which I
Toreador
honestly
trash
felt
man.
like...
How?
I was
How?
like, this is comedic. Didn't really fit the tone of the scene, if you ask me.
Did they
But-
also throw him through a candy store?
Yeah, exactly. Like apparently kids don't like their candy in Atlanta. So he wakes up and he goes. I don't recall. He thinks a little bit about what happened.
I think what breaks him out of it is the
Yeah.
fact that he's like, that's a weird thing in my mouth.
Oh yeah, and he spits it out and it's an eyeball. And he goes, and he drops it and it rolls away.
And then he did exactly that.
Yeah. And it looked at him. That was a trick. It was white and he had it in his hand. And he's like, "What is this?" And then he turned around by movement and it looked at him and he was freaked out. So then he traced his blood trail up a incline, I guess, on the road, and he finds the rather messed up body of Vegel, who is unconscious. I don't think he's dead at the moment.
No,
probably
he's not
torpor. Probably torpor.
Leo assumes that he's dead.
Yeah.
I think. He's like, nerd.
And he's like, "Oh, I did. This guy I don't like because he didn't like my
He
stuff."
didn't like my painting or my art or whatever.
Yeah. He immediately compartmentalizes the fact that this guy has been brutally murdered. It's like, a
he's
lot of people were
naked.
killed today anyway, and I didn't care about this guy. So like, all right, okay, weirdo. And then he just basically drains. Oh no, he turns because he's got his hand over his eye socket, right? So Leopold removes it and he spots, of course, this giant malformed eye in the socket of Vegel. And he is immediately struck by this desire to have the eye, so he pulls it out. And
Very Lord of the Rings-esque.
Yeah, it's like, mine now. And it has a few strands connected, but it's barely connected to Vegel's skull or whatever. And then some blood trickles out, so he makes out with Vegel's eye hole.
Yep.
That's a thing that happens as well. Leopold.
Leopold.
His fucking book, man.
That's his kink, obviously.
Yeah, and after doing that, he sinks his fangs into Vegel's throat, spending about 20 seconds thinking, hey, the diablerie I've heard is apparently really bad, but I've also heard that the big slurp is going to be very tasty, so here we go. And he diablerizes Vegel. And drains him completely.
I hate Leo. This is why, because Vegel went through all that stuff, and then he was like, I guess I got to save myself and my artifacts by replacing my own eye.
They will never
I have
find
to
it.
sacrifice something for this.
They will never
And
find it.
Leo finds him on the street, is like, oh, that's cool.
Yoink.
And then he just kind of stumbles off into the night. I think that's where it ends.
No
Yeah.
two thoughts.
Does
like,
or doesn't.
Yeah.
oh, I guess I'm doing this in the middle of the street.
Keep in mind, he still hasn't made, as far as we know, the statue that Hannah commissioned from him. We don't know if he has, but at least it hasn't been described in the book yet. And I think after that, there is the small scene of something waking up in the New York sewers, sending out a bunch of rats eating up workers. Really, not much we know about that anymore. If we're familiar with the meta plot of Vampire, we can certainly guess what that is. But it's a thing. Certainly. And that's it. That's the first novel.
That's the whole book.
That's the book.
Yeah.
That's
It
the
sure is a book.
Sure was a ride. Very easy read, I would say.
Yeah.
I did the last 130 pages today.
I was like, crap, last night I've still got 100 pages to do. And I remembered, like, there's 10 words a page. I'll be fine.
I'm going to say, again, I want to say that this is by no means a bad book if you judge it by its premise. In the fact that it's a book based on a game. It has a lot of problems, though. And
we've been like making fun of this book.
Yeah.
There are, I think, a lot of cool ideas in here. There's a lot of very interesting characters.
Yeah.
It's obviously the first book in a series, and it reads exactly like that. You're like, most of this stuff doesn't mean anything to me right now, but in 3 books' time, it will be very important or whatever. But like technically, I didn't enjoy the writing. I didn't like some of the characters in probably a way I wasn't supposed to not like them. They weren't supposed to be like hateable characters, like Victoria Rash, Leopold. Who else? didn't I like? No, that was mainly it. Those characters I think were supposed to be super cool, and to me they just weren't. They were paranoid and awkward and weird and kind of judgy. Well, no, not kind of.
Very
judgy. Yeah.
But I mean, they pushed the story forward, which was interesting. There was a lot of telling, though. It was. I don't know if you found this. There was a lot of describing how clever the characters were, and not actually the characters doing anything clever.
The problem with telling rather than showing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem I had with it. And then there's the extreme objectification of every single character in this. There's one woman who's like a large woman, and Victoria Ash is like, this woman is the worst.
Oh, Clarice.
Aurelia Von
right?
True. I can't remember much. She just turns up for a moment.
Yeah, she's plain, but she could dress up, but she doesn't. So
I think that's the common Toreador noise when they don't like something. Bleh.
But yeah, I agree. I think all characters, women especially, objectify, but I think even like the physique is described in a way that fits more like how I would describe a mannequin rather than a person. It's all like statuesque or how their bodies are described and what kind of clothes they're wearing.
I noticed a lot, mostly with women, and there was a lot of, he was a large, sexy black man.
Oh yeah.
As well. And like they were all super muscular, which obviously all the vampires are supposed to be sexy, and yes, most of them are. But yeah, it was a bit much.
I think
I'll stop talking now.
Rolf was probably the...
I just want to hear you say sexy black man again.
Oh no.
But
nope, no one clipped that.
I agree with you that the way of the story being told is it's clear that this is the characters are more of a vehicle for the meta plot to proceed, because I think the only signature character in this book is Victoria Ash. Theobald is mentioned briefly. Leopold will, spoiler, have a continuous involvement in the story, much to your chagrin, I'm sure. But this
he gets worse.
Yeah, this was setting things up. I found, can I quote one part? Because I found one thing about Leopold that I really, really very much disliked. Or actually that was so like jarring that it took me out of the story. It is, let me see here. Very well then, I'd best proceed, as it seems that dawn is but an hour or so away, and I must yet return to my haven. This is Leopold
Those
talking.
Are some words that they certainly put together into a sentence.
And I was like, this guy is, I wouldn't even say eloquent. Either he's putting on a specific way of talking to Hannah, because he's saying this to Hannah, but then that should have been mentioned. I'm like, who speaks like this?
Yeah, I remember that. He was definitely putting on airs because Hannah is so stoic and probably more regal than the prince.
Yeah.
Just didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah,
but
that's fair. That's fair.
It sounded totally bizarre.
Yeah, but then he gets actually asked a question by Benison later, and he's like he doesn't know what to say. So,
yeah. Plus, after he said that, he literally just felt her up. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Huddy, what do you think about the book?
I already knew going into it. I think I had previously talked to somebody about these books a long time ago, and I'd gotten a little rundown on them. But I already knew this is the worst of the series in terms of it's very slow and it's not super interesting until the end. So I already knew all that.
I did get a comment saying like it's the worst one.
Did you?
When I announced it on the YouTube community.
Okay.
Yeah. I can agree with the ones I've read. I haven't read all of them, but this is by far the worst.
Okay.
I wasn't paying too much attention to the writing. I write as a hobby, and I'm a voracious reader. I try to read a new book like every 2 weeks. But so I wasn't paying too much attention to the writing because I know this is, like Primogen kept saying, this is just a novel from a book series, from a game series. So we're not looking for Shakespeare here. That was fine. It was fine. It was an easy read. My issue is that the protagonists that they chose, Victoria Ash and Leopold, are so unlikable. It was a bold choice to pick them as the first two antagonists for a 13 long book series. bold choice
Yeah.
because you had so many exterior outside characters. I mean, I would rather listen to Thelonious for 100 pages, or even Eleanor,
general.
the general. I would
Give
have
him
his internal
13
monologue,
books.
Yeah.
or even the perspective of Eleanor, the wife of the prince. You know,
Who does nothing.
Ventru. Yeah,
The thing is, she did nothing technically in the book, but she has such an interesting position as basically a second prince. Like, that's how she's set up, right?
Yeah, I would have loved to know more about that, but instead we get, you know, this unbelievable. I mean, it's like 260 pages of ennui, and I'm like, oh, I love me some. I love that, you know. I love the tortured soul.
Yeah.
But you got to give me a little bit more. There has to be another layer to it.
Yeah.
And not unintentionally funny segments.
Yeah,
where
and like
Leo's
why
being an idiot.
Yeah, why is Leopold tormented? Like there's nothing in his life that's necessarily horrible except that he can't sculpt his sire. It's kind of a weak motivator. Sorry, Huddy, you're not done yet, but I agree with you on that point. Like the enemy is it's unearned, I would say.
Yeah, and again, you're writing from the perspective of kindred. So we're not kindred. We're not vampires. We know. I think all of us, we know a crap ton about the lore, but we aren't. We didn't live that life. So if you're gonna jump us into living in these people's lives, you know, there's no relation. There's no relatable point.
No.
You know, well, how many of us have lived as starving artists and then got embraced and now we can't remember our sire? So relatable, right? You know, the torment.
Yeah.
Or Victoria, you know, or Victoria Ash, you know, she was a prostitute like 200, 300 years ago. And now she's like, gosh, I have this really high ranking position as Primogen, but man, I should be prince. Now, you know, I have all this money and all this power and I'm going to rent out the entire gallery. You know, it's just not relatable. It's just a hard jumping in point for a first novel in a series.
Yeah.
As a political monster, though, I do like Victoria Ash. She's just like power hungry. She does all these ridiculously complicated things. She hedges her bets on like kind of flimsy like political chances of who knows what and why and
I like political intrigue as much as the next person. My problem with Victoria Ash is that there's a saying in almost everything is that it's kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. That is the best way I could put it. Yeah. And the problem is when you try and think too far ahead, too many steps ahead, even professional chess players will tell you this. That's how you trip yourself up. 1 to 2 steps ahead, that's like the sweet spot. But you don't want to try and think 60 steps ahead. That will get you absolutely nowhere. So I don't know if she's at this point, if she's actually in the best spot politically to maneuver herself into princedom. Just based on the way that she's thinking.
Yeah, it seems very like a lot of times some of the things she's doing just pop out of nowhere. There was no build up to all the things she was doing until they actually become relevant in the story, like her manipulation of Thelonious and Benjamin, which is just hand waved away. It's like, what about you? Didn't you send that letter? I thought you sent that letter.
And then they figure it out in 3.7 seconds, and then she's like, that blew up in my face. God, I didn't even see that one coming.
Yeah. Harry, what did you think about it? The parts
I read a very different novel than you guys did.
I'm so sorry.
It
is
from
okay.
The description that we've given so far and the bits that you've read,
it sounds
line up.
it sounds like the kind of movie that I would love to watch because it's such a disaster that it would just be so much fun. I mean, you have katana wielding ghosts, giant dick golems, like. Again, it just seems so surreal. And then you're right, it has these characters who are like, you know, they're so smart, but you don't see them being smart. You just are told that they're smart. And it's almost, to me, it almost is like they stumble into things that could later become compelling. Yeah. But I doubt they will. Like Victoria, like she thinks so far ahead, right? Like Huddy said, the 60 steps. What would be really interesting is if in a later novel, they explored, that's actually fucked her. Like, she made a huge mistake, and it one assumption, and now everything's falling apart. I don't think they will. I don't think, from what I've read, I don't think it's of that type of quality where they would really even think to explore that kind of thing. Yeah. It's very, like you said, it's a tabletop game novel, and it very much reads like one. It reads a bit like a D&D adventure, if that makes sense. Like,
no, it does. Yeah. And I think. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No. Should we flip for it?
Uh,
Should we go through the doors to see who goes first?
Oh my god!
I'll just
stop.
go first. I just wanted to add to what all of you have been saying is that I think for someone who's never read Vampire the Masquerade stuff before, who's not familiar with the setting, this book would be horrendous.
Yeah.
It would be borderline unreadable. For someone who's into this, I think it really shows. It definitely. I think it was you, Josh, who said it felt like an adventure before.
Yeah. And Harry as well.
Oh, Harry, yeah, you said as well. Like, this feels like something that could have happened in a game because the storyteller's like, haha, you thought this is what's going to happen, but here's the Sabbat. You know.
And I believe the storyteller would go, ha.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Oh, here's all the important characters you are now learning about and becoming invested in. That shit's not going to matter because they're all going to be dead, probably.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was a good decision to make.
But the problem is, a lot of what I was reading was like explanations of basic Vampire the Masquerade specific lore things.
Yeah.
So clearly it was intended to be an introduction,
Yeah.
which was a shame.
Yeah, I got because in the first introductory part with Leopold, they do that. They go into like Cain and Embrace and what it means and blah blah blah, and then they do the same thing when the second part starts with Victoria Ash. Victoria Ash is like, oh yeah, and this and that, and you know, explaining really basic lore, metaplotty stuff, and then they sort of forget about doing that, and then they start dropping other words, and then they don't explain them.
Yeah,
they're like, nah, too much effort. No one's reading this but vampire nerds anyway.
I think when I read this novel, I was very unfamiliar with the Sabbat. I knew about the clans in the Sabbat, but I knew very little about them because I only had the revised rulebook. So I knew about the clans, but that was it. And I distinctly remember that I understood almost nothing about the Sabbat attack. And honestly, I understood very little about the Elysium scenes as well. But I think this is just an occasion of wanting to show off too much of the setting in one book.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, here's the follower of Set who's got his own plan with the Nosferatu who might be backstabbing these people. And then you have the general who's this old vampire.
Yeah, I feel like if I gave this to somebody who never heard of vampire, they would be like, what the hell is this shit? I swear.
Yeah.
Because it's not really that bad for people who know the book, know the lore. It's not really that bad.
No.
We all hear followers of Set and we're like, oh yeah, the serpents.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone who doesn't know Vampire the Masquerade. I would say read the rulebook. And I would say that because there is some genuinely top quality narrative segments in the rulebooks.
Yes.
Some of them are really cool. They're very short, so they're very focused and they do interesting things with what they have and the space they have. But they're so much more interesting than some parts of this book. Is there anything, any final thoughts?
I think this series of books, more than any other novels in Vampire the Masquerade, like previous editions, if you want to get into the meta plot and want to know about the signature characters, these are the books you want to read. I know there's also a trilogy for Theo Bell when he's taking down this vampire slave ring. I haven't read that one. But I do recall, because I only read like 3 or 4 of these books, and every time I've gotten into discussions with people online about, this was before I did my channel, I was like, oh, I like Gangrel, and they're like, oh, I love Beckett, or like Ramona. I was like, who? And a lot of these characters that show up in these books also show up in Revised Edition, which is a neat little thing, because like Anatole, for example, who's a Malkavian signature character, like in Revised Edition, you will get little snippets of text to every single skill, attribute, ability, like a sample of these being used. And they almost always use signature characters doing certain things, which I think is a really neat way to tie in the meta plot into the rulebook. They don't do that anymore, unfortunately, in D5, I think.
They do. There's
they do.
There's sections where Fiorenza Savona is like talking to someone, and then suddenly she uses dominate and as a description of how it works.
But even
there's
with
some great, they do that still, and it works brilliantly.
Okay.
Yeah,
I missed that.
No, you're right.
But yeah, not a book I would recommend giving someone as a Christmas gift Unless they're really into vampire lore, I guess.
I will say I am excited to read the next one though, which is
Honestly,
Smitsi, and like continuing with the story as well is something I'd like.
I will say, to put your mind at ease, it already seems better.
Good. That's good to
Good.
hear. Yeah. Should we do another one with Smitsi in like a month? Then?
Absolutely, a month.
I mean, it doesn't take that long to read the book, but
Yeah, maybe I can read the right book this time.
It hurts. I'm so sorry.
The shame.
It's okay, really, Chris. It's okay.
Yeah, I
It's an
know,
easy
but it still
mistake to make.
hurts. But I say go for it, because I know for a fact that I loved this Mitzi book.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this was a long time ago, so take that with a grain of salt. But it does follow. I don't think that's a spoiler. Sasha Vikos is the signature character of the Smitsi book.
I do know some stuff about Sasha Vikos, and they are pretty cool.
Yes.
They turned up in one of my campaigns.
Ooh.
I didn't know.
Oh,
much
that's
about
cool.
the metaplot at that point.
That is really cool. Vikos is a staple character. Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were in a relationship with Francois Villon at some point, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did the tongue tango with Beckett in a
That's
dirty
right.
toilet stall in London. No, I don't remember. No,
I don't remember where.
I don't know. They get around. It's a great character though. But yeah, the 27th. Let's do it. Let's do all 13 books.
Oh, sweet Jesus! All right.
Let's do that. I am down to read all of these books.
And buy whichever ones you don't have through Josh's affiliate link.
Yes.
We have
Yeah,
an
give them
affiliate
25
link,
cents.
via Drive-Thru RPG, where if you would like to purchase any of the books, we get a kickback from that. And if it's not like 2 cents, we'll actually split it between the people who are on the podcast.
No.
No, we don't want any of your affiliate
I don't
money.
want your blood money.
No? Oh, okay.
No,
good.
it's fine. It's
Keep
your
your
affiliation
sellout
link.
money.
I'm just happy to be here. I'm just an artist.
Oh, God.
No, I'm sorry. But this was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I want to do this with all the others. If anyone somehow is inclined to read that book from what we just did, there's the link in chat.
Yeah.
I guess.
I just want to say there are gems. Like with the general, for example, there are gems in this book that are really, really good.
My guess is that he's still there.
Yeah,
Like
that
he's
would
a
be amazing.
statue. No one.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's still there right now.
Yeah.
yeah. And
my
I
gosh.
don't remember what happens to Stella, but God, I hope she survived that. Just
We don't
justice
really
for
know.
Stella.
We don't know.
We don't know yet. We're gonna find out though in like a year's time when the final book has been read.
Oh my God, new arc in Stella.
Cool. Everyone, shill your stuff. Harry. Where can we find you?
Brilliant. Hi, I'm Harry. I do a bunch of shit. You can find me on YouTube at the Salubri Cat. Look that up. I'm about to reach 50 subscribers, so hell yeah. A little bit punching above my weight on this podcast, but I also have another podcast, the Saratoga by Night podcast, which is on hiatus right now, but season 3 is coming soon. I also have a second podcast called Controlled Chaos, which is a Wrath and Glory actual play. And it's been nuts. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out. It's on my YouTube channel. And you can find me on twitch.tv/theonyxpath like most of the time. And so yeah, that's my shit. Oh yeah, Harry_Wyckoff on Twitter.
Sweet. Chris.
Right. Hi. Yes, I'm Chris, the Primogen. You can find me at the Primogen, one word, on Twitter, where I will post a lot. Otherwise, you can find me on YouTube, the Primogen, which is my lore channel. I do weekly lore videos and who's and vampire, as well as some other stuff. And I will also soon be starting a one on YouTube, Giovanni Chronicles storytelling session, because it's gonna be fun.
It's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
First
a great
part's out, and you should check it out. It's super cool.
Oh, thank you. I also do some storytelling on the Onyx Path. I run the Little Brook Reunion, which will be ending next week, next Thursday.
Oh boy.
Harry's on it.
We're all gonna fucking die.
No. Why would you say that? But yeah, that's more or less what I do.
Huddy!
Huddy, it's me. I'm Huddy from Huddyvonschland. You can Huddyvonschland on YouTube, where I make Vampire the Masquerade lore videos. I make Wraith the Oblivion lore videos. I make Mage the Ascension lore videos, and I recap LA by Night, among other things. And you can also find me on Twitter, also Huddyvonschland, where mostly I just geek out about vampire stuff, 24/7 on there.
Nice. Well, if you want to see more of Huddy, I literally just released on Strange Adventures a video where we talked for like an hour and a half about vampire shows that you should watch if you enjoy Vampire the Masquerade. And I had to cut that down to 33 minutes, sadly.
I don't know how you did that, because we giggled for like 90 minutes.
Yep. It was great. It was so much fun.
It's a great watch.
The full thing is available for my Patreon patrons. But if you want a slightly less tangent-taking video, Strange Adventures on YouTube is where I do all my vampire stuff. Yeah. So, thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you to everyone for joining in and reading. If you did, let us know what you thought about the book in the comments, etc. But until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.